There we go. Okay, so let's check. There was an echo coming through Jeremy's sound. Do activate your sound again when you do, Jeremy.
I can hear me.
Yeah, brother. Welcome. How are you doing?
I am alive. I'm here.
The live. Well, you are alive and you are live. You are live and lively alive. There's a lot of living going on around there. That's a good thing. It's always better to be more alive than less alive, in my opinion. Lovely to see you, brother. Hope you had a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
You're rocking a new space today. Or a different angle, different camera angle. That's all. I get you.
Yeah, same old basement. I haven't gone anywhere.
Nice. Yeah, you're like me, aren't you? Like we share that, creatures of habit. Yeah.
Well,
once you get into a routine, you're in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's just no other place to go to do videos. Sorry, I got to move all my knives around. My giant knives.
Okay.
I've been trying to. Huh?
Yeah, brother.
What were you saying?
No, I didn't hear you for a moment. You were saying you'd move your giant knives.
I was just saying I was trying to move all my knives. I was just moving all my knives around. Anyways, what are we talking about? Are we still talking about paganism? I think your mic is muted.
Ah, there we go, brother. Is it me or did your screen go weird?
Yeah, it like blinked out. What the hell? Hold on a sec.
You're there, but your camera. There we go. Weird. Thank you, StreamYard. They did a few interesting things for me as well. No, your camera came right a minute ago, by the way.
Give me a second.
It's all good. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, you're on your phone. I get you.
Yeah, it's got like, but the edge of the phone has buttons on it, and I feel like some of them sometimes they're depressed. Anyways,
nice. Well, big love to the chat. We've got Tom Rue, we've got the star. Namaste, everybody. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are thriving. Hope you guys are finding joy and peace where you dwell. Hope you know that you're just truly arriving because the day is moving and you got to keep driving. For those of you on your way to work, hope you can enjoy the day. It's 6 a.m. in the US. It's 12 p.m. lunchtime here in South Africa. In the UK, it's just before 12. Esoteric elements of ritual, and it comes from paganism. So we did paganism last Friday. If you recall, I'd sort of set it up and everything, so I had to roll with it. I think like when it comes to ritual, you know, that's why I was saying you're like me, a creature of habit. You have your rituals, don't you? Am I right? Yeah. Or you're a very ritualistic person?
Well, there's put me on the spot. I'm just trying to think. Like I don't necessarily have you know, I have preferences in habits that I try to perform every day because the repetition is comfortable and familiar, and you know, some of that stuff has, you know, switched about because I have children now, and I have to keep, or a child right now, children soon. to keep them in mind. You know, you're when you have kids, you definitely have to ritualize uh, large aspects of your life because you want to keep them, you know, on a routine. Um, and it, it helps me to think of it more as ritual instead of just routine. Routine seems kind of like, you know, secular. Uh, and not
Totally,
as
brother.
not as fun. I was thinking of it as ritual. But you know, ritual doesn't necessarily mean religious. Uh, but ritual does um attend to the spirit, for sure. It's basically, you know, you can you can perform a set of actions and speak a set of words at a certain time, you know, uh, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, you know, every decade, whatever. And it's a you know, it's a focusing of energy in a physical space. Um, you can have internal rituals. You know, you sit, you close your eyes, you go inside, you perform rituals. I think most people though, it's more of like a it's you know, an internal headspace, external sort of thing. But you know, every breath you take could be uh part of a ritual. If you want to think of it that way.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, you know. And I'm also quite like a ritualist. And it's just automatic, you know, like for example, um every a lot of the things that I do, I tend to do it with a with a background to what I'm doing. I think like if we're going to define ritual, right? A ritual is a multidimensional action. Yeah. When you're doing one thing, that's also going to achieve another end, right? But it's also it's part of a pattern, it's part of a cycle. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm washing and I'm showering. In my mind, I'm also cleaning my mind. So I might be washing my physical body, but like on a ritual level, I'm using that water to clean my mind and to clean away like the bits of like brain fog or brain whatever, you know, residual brain patterns. It's like I'm cleaning out my proverbial RAM chip, you know, get all the get all the background processes out of it. And that's just an example. And when I'm cooking food, I'm doing inner alchemy, right? Because I love cooking, and I see cooking as an opportunity to do well magic.
You know,
So
I'm really into this idea. I've begun to think of more things as alchemy uh than I had. Oh my God. All right, my phone is just not cooperating with
it's
me.
all good. It's
Anyways,
all good.
um,
We can see
what I
you.
was saying. Oh yeah, alchemy. I was just commenting that um I've been trying to conceptualize more of what I do in the world as alchemy. One, because it's fun to say. Two, because it's true, and I love seeing it in other things as well, like you know, like food, like you were saying, is a really good example. Like I have a garden right now, and things are popping up, and it's really cool. Um, seeds are like I'm kind of obsessed with seeds. It's quite amazing what seeds can do. These little packages of information that you put that can last for years, and you put into the right environment, and then suddenly they explode with life. What was I saying? I had another idea that I completely forgot. I'm sorry, guys. It had something to do with ritual, but
the idea of the
I remember.
multidimensional. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. So, um, I've been stretching my legs. I can almost do the splits. I've been doing it for years now. And every time I go into one of my stretches, I try to do it in the morning, but my body, uh, like just like it goes into a groove. It just locks into a groove, and I start breathing in a certain way, and my mind calms down, and I can just sink into my stretches. And it's very calming. It's very relaxing. Um, and it's ritualistic. And what I'm trying to note here is that the more you perform a ritual, the same thing will happen where you lock in your body, and your body will follow. And your mind will follow. Your body follows, your mind follows, your body follows, your mind follows. And you just you focus more and more and more of that energy into what you're doing. And it becomes better over your lifetime. So if you think about things ritualistically, and you ritualize parts of your day and what you do, your day can end up being just one long ritual, which is great.
Exactly. Like Toby was saying, when he's cooking, he's thinking about how his family is going to love it. When I'm cooking, I'm like, I'm talking to the food, and I'm explaining to the nutrients, like, we want you guys to separate and get ready. Like, it's big work ahead of you. There's a 9-year-old. He's got a lot of growing ahead of him. And we need you guys to be ready in a line to just jump into his body, just ooze into his body. And so people look at my son, they go like, what the hell do you feed him? Right? He's a 9-year-old that weighs like 100 pounds. He's got like arms and muscles, like no 9-year-old you've ever seen. He's buff. He's really buff. He's a little bit chubby at the moment, but he's the strength and the physical density of his bones, and it's off the charts. Like, people say he looks more like an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old.
He sounds like he's going to be good at rugby or something like that.
That he looks like he's going to be good at rugby.
Well, he's gonna have to do something where he bashes himself against other kids.
Well, he has a natural propensity towards like martial attitudes.
Yeah.
And I haven't trained him in martial arts yet. I'm a little bit worried because the self-control element.
Yeah, for sure.
He's strong. He's very strong.
Yeah.
He's very strong. Like, my dad trained me when I was really young. I had to, because I was bullying. But I first hospitalized someone when I was like 9, 10.
Right.
And that's like, it's quite serious. Like, in those days, boys will be boys. Boys get into fights. Okay, it was a big deal because the boy had to go to hospital. But and it wasn't like I was like losing my crap. I just hit him once, but I hit him properly.
Yeah.
So if you've got that kind of a body and you learn how to strike properly, then, so he's not aggressive essentially, but he doesn't know his own strength. He plays, and he's just, but the nutrition element is what I focus on, like give him a really good base. And I've been talking to him about starting to train in martial arts. He hasn't been too interested, so I haven't pushed him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's probably where it's gonna go. And the alchemy thing, our children are like an alchemical process that we are a part of. It's like we're part of a ritual in a sense. And it's the ritual of like ourselves, of like this would have been like really good for me. Let's try it with you. Like maybe I can introduce, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, back to the food thing, like alchemy is trying to figure out what my daughter wants to eat. Oh, let's try a little of this. Let's try a little of this. Well, she's not eating anything. So I don't, give her some peanuts and we'll figure it out. And I don't know how it is with boys, but with the little girl, they're they're constantly going in and out of phases of like preferences and attitude, uh like my daughter started, like I'm like, all right, go sit down for dinner, go get in your chair, and she'll be like, you get in your chair, and I'm like, like, go brush your teeth, and she'll be like, you brush your teeth. And it's cute, it's really funny. But
boys are simple. They're rough, they're aggressive, and they break things.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I when I've been around my friends of mine around here, there's a lot of girls, um, a lot of little girls, but there's a couple guys that I know that have little boys, and yeah, they're just you know they're just running around, getting into stuff, uh, and looks, I kind of just it's funny, I really just want to like wrestle with them. It's a lot of fun. They love it. um so I just want to pivot real quick, just because I missed last conversation, and I've got I don't have too much time. I got to get out of here around 7:30 or so. But about the paganism thing. So just real quick, um main question is what is paganism? What were humans in this on the earth, in the world right now, and back then, what were they trying to conceptualize with paganism? And my understanding is that it's it's this recognition that there are these forces around us, that interact with us, interact with the world, and that these things you can have communion with these things, and there can be this positive or negative back and forth of like energy, um and so, yeah, what if you could just revisit that real quick, uh if it's not too much trouble. I see you're pinching. You're like, oh Jesus, no.
no. It's my eye is feeling a little bit sort of just feeling a little bit sensitive. There's a lot of pollen in there. It could be, could be anything.
Oh yeah, here too, man.
Yeah. So basically, if I were to define paganism in as few words as I could, it's really about ritual. It's about ritualistic worship through nature of the divine principles. And the rituals are aligned with the rituals of nature, for nature has her own rituals. The seasons, like winter, summer, spring. This is nature's rituals. Nature's ritual of rebirth and awakening and new life, spring. Nature's ritual of ending of life, right? And leaving the world, winter, and nature's ritual of abundance, coming into summer after when spring has brought the abundance and summer, and there's fruit and berries everywhere, going into summer. Nature's ritual of old age, like autumn, right? So, they looked at nature and they saw these cycles that their own lives followed, and they aligned nature's rituals with their own rituals and the stars. And so that's how I would conceptualize and define paganism if I were to try in a shorter possible answer.
Yeah.
And
now, where did all these different like gods come from?
Psychicism. What happens is when we start to align ourselves with rituals, the whole point of a ritual is to dissolve the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual to some extent, be that for the ability to see into the spiritual, or for the ability of the spiritual to leak into the physical, right? A ritual for abundance, for a bounty of a crop, for example, would be to thin the veil, done during a time when the veil is at its thinnest, and sort of coaxing the spiritual force to move into the physical plane so that we can direct it to some extent, or it can be directed by our ancestors and the guides towards abundance. Or a ritual like, like, for example, let's say the ritual of what would have been Christmas, but it's Saturnalia, right? Would have been an opportunity to look into the spiritual, as would Halloween. Halloween would coming from these old rituals, which would be a chance to look into the deep underworld and commune with the ancestors. See, so the one is to commune with the ancestors to get information. The other one is to bring the spirit into matter, to change something on the physical plane for optimal delivery of resources. I mean, that's how I see it. I think it was pretty simple for the pagans. It was either resource-based, or an opportunity to get guidance from the ancestors for spiritual purposes. And so there's this polarity. So that's how I would put that into perspective. And ritual is really, I think, something that defines paganism, right? Because they lived very ritualistic lives. So what we define as paganism, we call superstition. But now we need to understand what superstition is. I wish I had hashtagged that superstition in the description, because this is a big part of this conversation. When it comes to ritual and superstition, what is superstition, right? We've got this idea that superstition is this weird belief and weird nonsense. No. When you start to think in a ritualistic fashion, and you start to understand that there's this second principle of hermetics, always active, that there's this field of correspondences, and that this field of correspondences between things that are spiritual and these things that are physical and manifest are in balance with the principles of polarity, and as above, so below, is being reflected. And that the causal chain and cause of effect is managing how this polarity comes into being to become a unified field of physicality that we experience, the generation, the masculine within the feminine embedded, where we see this energy moving through matter, as it were, in the state of flux, or in this dynamic state of flux that we call reality. So when we look at that and we understand the true concept of animism, right? And this is obviously bridging into the ideas of panpsychism, right? Panpsychism being, I think, a fundamental element of paganism and a fundamental element of ritual means that this world that we're living in isn't what it seems to be. It's one aspect of a greater reality, and that more fundamental state of reality is an energetic cosmic state of being where there are other beings managing the affairs, and those beings of managing the affairs we see and experience here in this world as elemental forces, but that those elemental forces are fundamentally intelligent. And when we start to appreciate and understand this, we start noticing that everything that happens in the physical is a reflection of the spiritual. And when we can actually truly start to experience this and get a grip of what this means, we start recognizing that there's nothing that's happening here that's mundane. It's all a series of spiritual influences. And with that comes what is called superstition, meaning that everything that happens here physically is because of some kind of a deep, profound spiritual cause. And since those spiritual causes are living entities of being, we associate everything with the spiritual. And so you could say this, well, it was called by the scientists to be superstitious, right? If something happens and you walk down the road and there's 3 flowers laying on the road and you pick them up, and you walk further down and then you see 3 birds standing in your path, you go, okay. And then you get to the next point and you're going to get onto your horse carriage and there are 3 carriages waiting there. And you notice that in each of the 3 carriages, there are 3 people sitting in the carriages. You're going to go, what's going on here, fella? Then you take out your timepiece on your chain and it says like the 3rd hour. And at that moment, you hear 3 bells ringing, right? You're going to start thinking that there's some kind of supernatural hand at work here. Why are all these 3s aligning? And so that would be considered, superstitious, that this must be some spiritual reason why these things are occurring. And it wouldn't be incorrect, but we've washed that ability to appreciate the connection between the spiritual and the physical by using words like superstitious in a negative contextual manner.
Yeah, I think there's so we talk about cultivating awareness, right? And awareness, like there's literally awareness, just like what's around me, going into nature is the perfect way, is a great way to expand your awareness, right? Because there's so much going on. Like right now, all the woods around me are, they're exploding with birds and leaves and all this, all this bugs and squirrels and spring peepers and stuff like that. And you go into the woods and there's just this cacophony of life going on. And there's a fun exercise that you can do. And, you go out, maybe early in the morning or late in the evening, you sit on your porch or sit by a window and just listen and try to single out like every sound that you hear, and try to dig into it, auditory landscape as far as possible. It's a fun game. Shit, I was trying to go someplace else. I'm kind of scattered this morning.
It's all good, brother. But that is what you're pointing out is a really powerful ritual.
Yeah.
Because that will expand your consciousness into the psychic sphere in a powerful way. Because you're hearing, what is hearing?
Oh,
right?
I remember where I was going. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you spurred my my thinking when you're talking about the number 3 popping up, and that happened to me. I was talking to a tarot reader guy that I used to talk to a lot, and he said, look for the number 3, and literally like right after my meeting with him, I went out and about, and the number 3, in a very, what, I encountered the number 3, like, you could not miss it. The way I encountered it is like, you cannot miss it. Um, and, I was like, well, it's like, blam, it's like, there's the Holy Trinity, or, whatever. Um, and so, awa it was, I was in that mindset. I was in this mindset. I was in the thinning of the veil, mindset, and so I was able to receive this thing that was, directly in front of me. Um, but when you're performing ritual, right? You're trying to approach God. You're trying to approach your spirit. Um, uh, you are you want to be you want to move closer to divinity, and it'll communicate with you sometimes, sometimes dramatically, like what I was saying earlier with the number 3, or what you were saying with the number 3. But most of the time it's subtle, and so, there are varying degrees of subtle. Um, there's the breath of a breeze, right? Or the flight of birds, you know, or there's the crash of thunder, or there's simply something like a bird's feather lying in your path that is impossible to ignore, you know? Um, like this
Or the
feather.
heavy sound of silence as it wraps itself around your ears.
Yeah. This feather right here, I believe it's from a hawk, but just lying there.
Beautiful.
I couldn't I couldn't miss it, so I had to pick it up. I was like, this must be for me. But yeah, silence. If you're in the woods and it just goes completely quiet, I mean, either run or enjoy it. I don't know, but you'll be fine. Um, what was I gonna say? Uh, oh, um, so
Yeah.
so we're all, how what where do we find how do we know, um what how do we start to ritualize our lives in communion with the cycles of nature? Where do we look? How do we learn these things? What do we do in the spring and the summer and the autumn and the fall? Um, how do you practice paganism?
Well, I think it has to be a
Super
personal
easy
path.
question.
Yeah. I think that from an optimal perspective, it's got to be personalized,
Right.
and it's got to be in alignment with emotions. And how we feel is, I think, a big part of the story, because we go through life, and we we might notice, like, for example, how do you feel when the sun is shining on you and it's hot? Do you feel hot and bothered? Do you feel happy? Do you feel like lazy and you can just lay in the sun? Or do you feel like irritable? How do you feel when it's cold? Do you feel energized and you want to do things? Or do you feel like crampy, or, and these will tell us about our natures, and it will tell us what we need personally more of,
Yeah.
right? And so I think, like, we should each be finding our own medicine, because when I think of ritual, I'm thinking of medicine. I'm thinking of, it's a medicinal way of interacting with the universe and the cosmos around us, and we are fundamentally moving towards facilitating greater sense of health. And big love, namaste, peace, harmony to everybody in the chat. I see we've got quite a few people there. We've got a couple of new faces. We've got Michael, we've got Fugu, Tom Rue, welcome back. Systematic, welcome back. We've also got Riley, nice, welcome Riley. We got Waleed Azhari, Waleed Azhari. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, you can thank me later. It's a pleasure. I tried. I'm not quite sure if that's the right response, but anyway, it's a response. The Star, welcome to everybody. I hope you guys are all good. But yeah, so we want to figure out our weaknesses. Think of it as martial arts. Probably a good analogy to start with. Is your weakness in martial arts your stances, or your fluidity, or your receptivity? Something we don't really apply to martial arts. We don't realize how important receptivity is. Are you receptive to your opponent? Are you receptive? Do you want to develop receptivity to your opponent? Even if you don't have an opponent, even if it's an imaginary opponent in your mind, you need to start practicing the art of receptivity. Can you respond to nature? Are you aware? Are you aware that there's a bird going to fly out of that tree now? Become aware. Start becoming aware of nature in such a way that you're completely surrounded by nature, and your senses are out there sensing, drinking in nature. So when that bird flies out of the tree, some part of you was like, yep, bird flying out of the tree. The moment the bird flapped its first wing, you knew there was a bird flying out of the tree. You weren't like, oh, look, a bird flew out of the tree. You were like, yep, that bird was flying out of the tree. You know, I was with that bird. The first movement of that feather, I heard it, I sensed it, I saw it, I picked up on the energy. And the more we tune into that, so, you know, what would receptivity relate to? I would say it relates to maybe to water, right? To be able to receive. So you might want to work with the watery element. So when's it raining? You might want to do raining rituals, right? You might want to go out in the rain, and the bar of soap, and like let the earth wash you. Good old-fashioned style, you know. Or you might want to do other rituals with water during the time, when that time of year when there's rain. And so you don't have to follow a recipe set out by ancient people, because to realize that they were observing nature, and all that they needed was already presented by nature, through nature, for nature, to enter into nature, to develop a relationship with nature, so that we can reshape our nature to be in alignment with the nature of nature and be truly natural. That's a lot of nature in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's so there, you know, there's principles, and there's universal principle, there's universal structure to how things work here. You've touched upon, I mean, you spoke about all this in your YouTube series and on your Patreon. All those videos is what you're talking about. And if anybody has not gone through Bush Whispers YouTube series, I highly encourage you to just go right to the first video and just work your way. You want to talk about ritual? When I first encountered you, and my daughter was taking like 2 naps a day. I would work out in the morning. She would go, my wife and my daughter would go for a nap, and I would sit in my room, and I would just listen to your one or two of your videos, and I would take notes, and I was really trying to ingest this information, and a tiny bit stuck because it's a lot. But okay, so my point is that there's principles, there's universal principles and structure to how our world works, how everything interacts with each other, hermetic principles. And then there's you, the individual, who can go out into nature and uh with with these principles in mind, observe and create for yourself your own personal rituals, you know, which will probably align with what people have been doing for thousands of years. Um, and you can avoid this confusion of trying to take what people have done in the past and directly apply it and try and recreate it today. And you know, you're you know, we're these new in our life right now, we're these new beings on this earth, you know, and we live in, you know, vastly different times than ancient, you know, people did. And so what worked for them then is not necessarily going to work for us for now, you know. But we can yeah, there we go. There's the YouTube. Yeah, so you yeah, the playlists. Perfect. Yeah, you start working through those playlists. That's good stuff. So is anybody in the chat following what I'm saying, or am I just rambling to myself?
No, you're not rambling at all, brother. I think it's really important for us to be aligned in that way, you know? And I think that we don't become aligned naturally because of this is just to go into why this is necessary, right? We've been educated, haven't we? And they've basically educated spirituality out of us, have they not?
Well, we've been retarded. No, I'm
well,
like,
I like
in the
to be
scientific
positive about
mechanical
it, but yeah.
sense. Like, you know, like on an engine, what's a retard? You know, it's a little lever where it you know, it lets you it lets you modulate power to the engine. Think about that. A retard. It modulates power to the engine. More retard,
Li-
less power. Less
Like when you
retard,
buy a
more power.
Porsche and it can't go faster than 80 miles an hour because it's got a limiter.
Yeah, a limiter.
But
It's
actually,
got
when you take that thing out,
yeah.
it's a beast.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. What I was getting to is, so there's you know, you've heard of what is it called? Ossatru, which is um people, I think it's like an official organization, but it's people trying to reinvent, remake ancient Norse or Germanic religion, you know. And the whenever, you know, whenever religion gets organized and hierarchical, you know, the politics is introduced. And you know, maybe the principles are are strayed from. And you know, corruption can be introduced. And I'm not saying this is for everything, and it's just the fact of life, right? um where I'm getting at is that this I think this approach to paganism, um which, you know, paganism itself is kind of like a loaded word that people have a lot of superstition around. um this I think this attempt to approach you know, spirituality or approach the divine is highly personal. It has to start personally, it's great to read all the books and learn all sorts of information. But if you're not, it feels like to me, if you're not going out to nature, and if you're not performing rituals that are suited to yourself, and you're relying on organizations or you know YouTube videos and stuff like that, you may be retarding yourself. I got a question for you. What is
Yeah.
Can you break down the word animal? Because you
Well,
said
that's an
animus
interesting
earlier.
one.
Yeah, you were talking about animism. Obviously, animal has something to do with that.
Anima, right? So anima, animal. Um, when we're talking about that, we're talking about for example, like you've got an animus and you've got an anima. And so we will relate to our feminine. So you've got animus and anima, and this is the repressed part. Is that the right word? Repressed. Uh, Within a man, there is a part of us that is feminine that we push down into our unconscious. Within a woman, there's a part of her that's masculine that she pushes down into her unconscious. In order for her feminine qualities to rise into the top field of experience and expression, it's just a sort of a natural thing to do. I think like the idea of this is the ability to not do that. You see, the first thing you notice about animals, right, is with men and women, like it's a very obvious difference, right? You're a man, you're a woman. The way we act, the way we do things, with animals though, it's a little bit tricky. You really have to watch them to notice which is the male or the female, unless like they've got like big dangly bits saying, oh my gosh, that horse is definitely a male. But if the horses were wearing clothes, if we covered up their genitalia, it would be harder to tell. We would have to really watch their temperament like for a while. And I think it's because horses don't and animals don't push parts of themselves away so readily, if that makes sense. They are more closer to being, sexless than human beings because we are so highly differentiated towards our sexuality. So much more highly differentiated. I mean, for example, right? You're in the USA and it's not a sexist place, right? Anymore. Women have to be given the same rights as men, right?
Oh, sure.
Work. And a lot of women are moving up into like high positions of career. And, equal rights is very important. It's
Yes,
not right.
we must all be equally taxed and retarded.
Except when it comes to war. Men get drafted to go and fight wars.
Oh yeah,
and it's not even a choice.
The feminists become really interested in the kitchen when it comes to drafts and dying.
Exactly. So we still have quite a structuring. We're trying to pretend that we don't.
Right.
We're trying to pretend that we're not living in a sexist society, but actually we are. Like, in fact, the laws are very sexist if you think about them. Very often, if there's a separation between a husband and wife, the father and the mother, the father will end up in the bottom end under the wheel. That's just how it is.
Yeah. The women are obviously okay. Men are expendable. Just the same way that we produce seed, right? And the seed is basically expendable because it just keeps coming, right? Women only have so many eggs given to them at conception, right? There's only so many children they can have, right? And they're weaker, men are stronger. The weaker thing is in this case is more valuable than the stronger because there's just more of us, right? You know, all these differences, all these physical and biological differences between men and women don't change. They don't change. They're not gonna change, you know, no matter how many bits you cut off or replace. It's the mental state, you know, that has been, you know, played around with. And and so it's a bit
Look
of
at
a
lions.
yeah.
Look at lions. The male stays at home with the kids, looks after the kids, keeps them safe, and the woman go off to war to chase after buffaloes and hunt.
Well, that's not necessarily
Dangerous.
true. It's not war, it's just hunting. The
Well,
male lions, the male wiles go to war with each other when there's, you know,
to protect
there's
their
conflict.
pride.
Right.
But what I mean is hunting and war are quite close to each other. Usually the hunting goddesses were the goddesses of war. And hunting is a dangerous thing. It's what I mean is it's the most dangerous part of lions' lives is the hunting.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's done all the time, and that's most likely where lion are going to physically pass away from wounds. Most likely, because they are hunting big creatures, and those big creatures turn around and maul them.
Guys,
You know,
I just want to talk to the chat real quick. You have no idea how freaking big the ungulates of Africa are. Like just look up a kudu. Look at the size of a kudu compared to a human. It's an antelope. And there's like, it's not just kudu. It's just okay. There was some genius, you know, decades ago probably brought to Texas some African ungulates, and then they got out and they're wild now. And I don't know if you've ever been to South Texas, but it's a different planet. It's everything there wants to kill you. Yeah, look at that freaking thing. So you're if you're a normal sized dude, you're probably if you stand next to that thing, your head is probably, you know, near that little flap on its neck. And it'll just bash you to death with those horns. But yeah, there are these giant freaking African deer things in southern Texas, but it's wild. And so, you know, you think about how the hell am I gonna kill one of those things? Like look at the size of it, you know? And so when we talk about you know, dangerous hunting, there you go. Go get it. with a sharpened stick.
let me give you some context, people. That is called an eland. I've got a drum,
an eland,
which is eland. It's called an eland.
Yeah,
it's a kind of an antelope.
Yeah.
I've got a drum from one of these guys' skins.
Oh, that's cool.
One of my shamanic drums, and they weigh 1,000 to 2,000 pounds, and they can jump 9 feet high. No, sorry. Yeah, they can jump 9 feet high. So they can jump over your head and clear you by a meter without touching your head. These powerful creatures. Like, can you imagine being a lion and having to go and hunt these creatures? My doorbell just rang. I want to see if it's an Amazon delivery or a
go for it.
Delivery. I'm going to be a second.
Yeah. So when it comes to there's a book. I think I've mentioned it before on one of our conversations, but I'll have to go find it and introduce it to you guys sometime. But I think women, when the book is about this network of women. I think it's in the United States, but it's probably worldwide. But there's this network of healers. They do so with psychedelics, and you know, they take psychedelics, and you take psychedelics, and you know, you know, you guys are, it's in a ritualized space, and you know, they can they can travel with you, and they can heal you. You know, kind of like the what is it called, the ayahuasqueros in South America. You know, with the ayahuasca. Uh, but it's a fantastic book. But there's definitely something about women and the internal spaces that they can be exceptionally adept at, more so than men. And it's not to say that men can't do this either. Obviously, that's not the case. But you know, men are you know, we're more forward facing, and you know, and um you know, the action oriented, and you know, women are more internal, um and that's great. Oh, did you get a box? I love getting Amazon packages. It's like Christmas.
This wasn't Amazon. This was Take a Lot. It's another.
Okay.
It's the same idea, and it was a. I got. My girlfriend was like, oh, she was looking for this kind of stylus, and so I got. It's two styluses set, and I thought, wow, they really are on a discount. So I got one set for myself, and I got a set for her teenager. And then I looked at the bill, and I was like, wow, these look like the Parker pen of styluses, you know, and you can use them on your tablet, on your laptop, I mean, on anything really, your phone. And I thought they were so well priced. They cost about like 6-7 quid for a set, but they're metal construction. They look nice. I figured I'd get another set for my son. So that's what that was. But
someone's
it is
talking
fun.
about someone's talking about the moon cycle in the chat here.
Yes.
Well, I've noticed that my daughter, every time my daughter like upgrades in, you know, as she develops, she had, you know, she'll plateau for a minute, and then we'll have a full moon cycle, or the full moon will come, and she'll kind of go insane for a few days, and then she like knows new words, and you know, can do new things with her, you know, physically and stuff like that. And I've also noticed that like it people, well, my wife can be more aggressive, and I can be a little more irritable, and when I'm driving around, people it feels like people are a little more erratic. And I think that there's a well, there's always something to do. There's always a proper way to utilize energy. And the way to use the full moon's energy, I think, has been robbed from us. And I'm not sure what to do with it, but I know there's a proper way to use the full moon's energy for both men and women. Maybe you can speak to that.
You know, for the moon, I used to use the moon's energy a lot. So, like, firstly, what would be the purpose? The sun's energy is a more practical energy to use for your day to day, right? Getting through the week, getting through the day, structured, being organized, you know, having a pattern of healthy, you know, ritual cycles. But the moon governs the emotional currents, where the sun governs our rational organizing. So a good way of thinking about it is to understand the Ouroboros, the Leo and Cancer. So Cancer obviously is ruled by the moon, and Leo is obviously ruled by the sun. And the Leo is very organized, forward-thinking, wants to trailblaze, wants to make a new thing, wants to go out and create something. A natural born leader. The moon, they want to go back into their emotions and understand their pasts, right? So using the lunar energy is very powerful for understanding your past, where you come from, what memories have been unconscious,
That would
why
explain
have
the life
certain
reviews.
memories. Life reviews, yeah.
Yeah,
The sun, very good
that
for.
happens. Like, it's unavoidable. I'm laying in there in bed. I'm like, man, I can't stop. You know, you just can't stop thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So that I think the lunar is for like also developing um spiritual, the awareness of psychic reality, probably a better word of putting it, because both the sun and the moon are spiritual on a different level. So the ability to sublimation defines the moon's process. If we want to look at it, it rules over life and death. Sublimation is that which is going to be allowed to be conscious and that which is going to be unconscious. It's a boundary between existing and not existing. And the word conch is the it's a toric field that's turned into a shell that you can blow and it makes sound. And if you listen to it, you can hear the sea because of the way your inner ear reacts to that acoustic shape. It's incredible. Yeah. So, yeah, using the lunar ritual, obviously, lunar gazing is going to be your powerhouse of direct engagement.
I was going to say, so there's in the morning, I try to catch the sun rising. I'll look at it. You can look directly at the sun for a little bit. And sometimes I'll put my palms up like this, and you can feel the warmth. And I'll imagine, I try to visualize energy like coming in. I try to imagine it coming into my left hand, and then circulating, like with my mind, directing the flow of the sun's energy through my hand, through my arm, into like different parts of my body. Like like send it to my feet, and then bring it back up into my head, and then shoot it back out my right hand back towards the sun, and create like a loop. Like, I just imagine that, and I feel like you could probably do that with the moon as well. It's just it's like fun. I don't know if there's anything going on, but it's a fun thing to do.
There's definitely something going on with that. It's definitely gonna have reactions. It's gonna produce some kind of goods. Yeah, with the lunar, it's very similar. You know, the lunar will. Okay, so working with lunar energy will awaken you to unconscious things, dreams, fantasies, unconscious patterns will become. One will become aware of them. And so working with the lunar energy is important because whenever we're working with our unconscious, we're working with lunar energy. So there's something to recognize. So if one's doing shadow work, even if one's using the sun to do shadow work, one's working with lunar energy. This is quite a hit trip. So you can do shadow work with the sun behind you, right? But like you say, first you got to charge up your solar batteries. Because if your solar batteries aren't charged up, then you won't be able to correlate and put into context and be able to have meaning from the experience of the unconscious that you're going to liberate when tuning into the shadow.
So I think that's okay. I think that's a bit of I think you just touched upon a bit of maybe, I don't know, not a secret or some spiritual tech. You got to charge yourself up during the day so you have the energy to work with the lunar. And and if you don't do that, then the lunar, you will become a lunatic. I think that's what, maybe that's what we're not really understand. That's what I think this is what I was touching upon. I think you just introduced a key to what I was touching upon earlier, where the lunar energy will kind of make you go crazy because you don't know what to do with it, or because you don't have your solar batteries charged up. And that's why it's so important to get some to be out in the sun. Working in the garden has been awesome because I'll go out there and I would just do it naked if I could, but I have neighbors. So I'm in shorts and a hat, but I keep my shirt off. So I can just soak up all that sun while I'm doing my work.
God invented Speedos.
I know, right? Yeah. Not quite there though. I like my shorts. But I'm gonna but this next, I don't know when the full moon's coming next. But let's see here. Let me look at my little app here. All right, it's waxing gibbous, so it's definitely,
it's on our way, a few
yeah. It's
days
like,
away.
ooh, the next full moon is in 7 days, guys.
Yeah,
7.
yeah.
That's a
7, 5, 6, 7. Okay,
it's like
yeah.
it's a curious number, right? Um, so you have 7 days I have 7 days to prepare and charge my batteries. I'm gonna try to make it a point of just working with that lunar energy to so okay, let's define shadow work real quick so we're on the same page.
So shadow work is essentially lunar exploration, if you really want to get right down to it, if we understand the polarities, because where we when we do shadow work, we're looking into our repressed parts, the parts that we're not cognizant of, not aware of, the parts that are living in our subconscious and our unconscious, and we are subconsciously acting them out as impulses. And that lunacy, that lunatic nature that you're talking about, is because of repressed shadow pieces that haven't been embraced and brought into alignment with conscious awareness. So, shadow work involves delving deep into the unconscious and looking at ourselves and looking at the emotional impressions that are lurking, that we're not aware of about ourselves, that are causing us to become less than desirable people that we would not wish to be. And we all have these shadow pieces. So, when things are triggering us, usually it's because there's a shadow piece that's being triggered. Usually, sometimes not. Like, um, if you see someone doing something bad to a child, you should be triggered. Otherwise, there's something wrong with you. You should be triggered. You should have a stick in your hand. And you go like, dish, dish, dish. Sorry, you triggered me. Dish, dish, dish. And that's like natural triggering, healthy triggering. You should get angry at some things. But if you're just angry and there's no reason to be angry, you're angry with the shopkeeper. Like, well, what did the shopkeeper do to you? Like the shopkeeper is just making you frustrated and angry with him. Like, then there's something wrong. If the bank teller can't count money fast enough and you're angry, there's something wrong, but if so it's about evaluating our emotional responses and our emotional behavior and our patterns and our internal responses to the stimuli of the world around us, and recognizing which bits are out of sync with reality. And that out of sync with reality is really the beginning of lunacy and becoming a lunatic, because we can become so disassociated. And that's another key with the power of the moon. It's disassociation, right? So according to modern psychology, working with the moon's energy is mental illness. Just bear that in mind, because the whole purpose of the moon's energy is to disassociate from physical reality, from your surroundings, and going into the dream unconscious world, which is very much the realm of the shaman. It's very shamanic. However, in order to be able to disassociate safely, this is what you were talking about, right? That's why you need that solar stake in the ground, something like a rudder, something to come back to, that you've got that self-esteem well
Yeah.
grounded, because that's what the sun does.
Yeah, the fire. So you're out, you're outside under a full moon, and a fire can be very grounding, because when does the sun come out? It comes out during the day. In the day we can see it's light. We feel a little safer. You know what I mean? And if you have a fire that you can ground yourself with, it could be very useful, because I think that it's if it seems to me that if you're going to be working with this lunar energy on a full moon, which is the full force of the moon's energy, it's okay. I think it's okay in a safe context to go a little crazy. if you have these emotions coming up, if you have anger or just crazy emotions coming up, you gotta move. There's you gotta have like a somatic release, ecstatic dancing or wailing on a bag or something like that is probably preferable. But you don't want to don't want to lose yourself completely and turn into a werewolf, right? I've got to let you go. I've got to get moving because there's some stuff I have to do. But I really appreciate this conversation. It definitely made me think about a lot of stuff. And I also really appreciate everybody in our chat that showed up and has been talking on the chat there. It's awesome that you guys show up to listen to me at least ramble about stuff.
We love you, Jeremy. We love you. You are our TallTree.
I love you too.
TallTree is such an appropriate name for you. I'm still going to be here for a while, though, peeps in the chat. I'm not going to run off in a hurry. We're still going to delve a little deeper. But it's been an honor as always. I look forward to next Friday if you're going to have the time. So I'll check in with you.
Sounds good.
Sending you big love, brother.
All right, you too, man.
I hope you enjoy your little sweet little princess. I hope her ballet is going well, by the way.
It is today's dance day.
That's what I thought. Because the last time I saw her in a little ballet suit, I was like, oh, that's just too cute, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, but ballet is the start. Next will be martial arts because it's similar to ballet.
Yeah, for sure.
Body conditioning, all of that. In fact, ballet can really prepare her for martial arts. And you never know. It might be good to have like your daughter that can like kick ass a little,
She will.
It'll take the pressure off of you when you're older. Like you don't have to kick her boyfriend's ass when he doesn't know how to behave. Like she can get on with it herself, Anyway, big love, brother.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too, guys. Talk to you later.
As always. Yeah. So, I think the whole idea of when we are starting to tune in to how to use the lunar energy for our rituals, that takes our, what was that? Huh? I don't know if you guys heard little Agatha. He's talking to me. He's such a pretty bird. He's a pretty bird. Yeah, he's so cute. This is little guy. He does his little thing. He's quite a little character. With a name like Agathon, I suppose he was only going to ever be a character, right? How many birds have like names like Agathon? Yeah, he's so sweet. And so using the lunar energy, and it's so powerful, right? For example, this is a crystal. Okay, so this is a golden healer. Yes, you're a beautiful little singer, huh? Sorry, I'm tripping out here, holding a golden healer. It's a double tone, it's a beautiful stone. But the quartz, the very nature and the vibration of quartz tunes us into a sort of a frequency which is quite lunar, right? That's quite important to recognize. So the lunar energy keeps us aligned with the cycles of the earth. This is really important to understand. So it's got like a profound, deep shadow connection with Saturn. Yes, you're talking a lot. Do you want to be on the stage? Do you want to do a Garthon show? Little Garthon wants to do his own podcast. And so when we align with this energy of the lunar vibration, the first thing it does is it profoundly affects our hormonal systems. And so quartz crystal is a great way to add to it, or even, okay, so this is beautiful. Wow. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is an amethyst, which is obviously it's a quartz, but it's got iron, and it's got manganese and different elements in it, which is going to change the frequencies of the quartz, the vibration. But so yeah, working with these crystals does also align us. Let me put him on the ground. Let me put him down. There we go. There's a little boy. Does definitely align us with the vibrations of the earth. And when we are tuning into the vibrations of the earth beneath our feet, we are aligning ourselves with the energies of the lunar potential. When we think of lunar, we think of magnetism, right? And the magnetic currents, the gravitational fields. This is what we're looking at when we're looking at the lunar potential. When we're looking at the solar potential, we're looking at the electrons. We're looking at the cases. We're looking at the structure of space and of matter. When we're looking at the lunar potential, we're looking at the energetic field of matter, because matter has both an energetic field. So the lunar energy aligns us more profoundly with the astral energy and the astral plane, where the solar energy aligns us more profoundly with the etheric plane. And so the etheric plane is the solar current, and the astral plane is a lunar current. So we can see this in the Ida of the Vedic cosmology and the Pingala of the Vedic cosmology. Pingala relating to the solar fiery principle, and the Ida relating to the lunar watery principle. And the reason they use water there is because it's that magnetic potential. Water's like it clings to itself, and it can group, and it can shape, and it's got a dielectric, diamagnetic potential. And so when we're using stones and crystals, you might find that it increases your magnetic potential in your body, because electricity, an increase of electrical potential, increases magnetism. And so there's this powerful relationship between the magnetic and the electrical. And so working with the lunar current will have powerful effects on our hormonal system, because the hormonal system is wired into our emotional hormonal systems, the same system. And so we've got the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is really managing this hormonal system, which is really managing our emotions and our feelings and our desires and passions as they are manifestations of this divine feminine principle. And so we speak about and the pineal gland obviously is managing our neural activity and our thinking and our logic and our frontal brain programs that we are so used to. And this little voice narration, the narrative in our head that we follow, this is all based upon the pineal's activities. So you'll find that there's a lot of glorification of the pineal. Everybody's preaching the church of the pineal gland, but they're not really looking at the pituitary gland. And so you've got the thalamus, you've got the hypothalamus, right? And so this is important, yeah, because of the management of these two systems. So when we're dealing with the watery energy and we're dealing with the Ida current, we are activating the pituitary gland. And this is an expression of the hypothalamus. Oh my gosh, seriously? Is that another delivery coming? I hope it's not another delivery. I'll let them ring the bell again, because it's just getting annoying now. But I am actually expecting another box, so I might have to run away for a second. But what I will do for that second is I'll give you an insight for a little bit of a. If you hear that shouting, screaming voice outside, that's my son's mother. Sorry, she behaves like a fishwife. She can't help herself. You know, sometimes people tend to not know how to behave, and that's just their thing. So I will put on. Thank you. You can stop shouting now. So that is really what we are talking about here, and I'm going to put on just a quick excerpt of a file so that you guys can be seeing a little bit of a part of a video that I have. Joshua, go and tell them I'm coming now, please, my boy. So there we go. There we go. So this is from the Bush Whisperer Speak series that was being spoken about earlier. And am I right? There we go. So I'll leave you with this for a moment.
Thereof has prevented them from writing music. And I had to sit with this, contemplate this deeply, question this. And so I thought to make a video about creativity. Those of you that are working as creatives, or those of you that find creativity is a path of joy, because creativity can be one of the most profound and powerful paths that one walks. The shaman appreciates the creative impulse that comes from deep down. The shaman is totally surrendering to the creativity of the soul, to allow these deep, creative, powerful streams of consciousness to guide one through this journey of life, to guide one's hands and one's body through the dance of life, to guide the rhythms that would guide the heart, and to allow guidance to be the impulse that one follows. And when one considers what creativity is, it's sort of surrender in a way. And surrendering is not something that we do very well. I recently did a video about pride. Pride is a great obstacle towards surrendering. Creativity is when you are so absorbed in the process of surrender that you stop thinking about what it is that you're doing. And there's a little bit of a clue about what creativity is, from my perspective. Creativity is when the left hand isn't looking at what the right hand's doing. And the two hands are just busy doing for the sake of doing. There's a powerful Taoist message being shared here. The act of becoming the uncarved block. Those of you that are Taoists will appreciate this. Of allowing yourself to be. Not choosing what you are, not choosing what you say, not choosing what you do. Allowing the inner child to just flow free, the way a river flows through the beautiful jungle's heart. Bringing the life and the abundance of the water so that it can get to every different part of the being we call nature. And so creativity is impulse. Impulse is what carries the stream of creativity. An impulse, there's a little bit of a message here, impulse relates to the pulse of the heart. So creativity comes from the heart, essentially. It's when we are polarizing ourselves in perfect balance and harmony to what is happening around us. And so the creative impulse guides us from deep down. And we become polarized. When there's music playing and your impulse guides you for what music to add to that music.
Thank you for being so patient. And so there's a little bit of an excerpt from season 2, Bush Whisperer Speaks. And if any of you are interested, if you go into my courses, you'll find there's 2 courses there. There's season 1, Bush Whisperer Speaks, and season 2, Bush Whisperer Speaks. So those are the 2 courses that there are. And yeah, man. If you see on the top here, you've got home videos, shorts, lives, podcasts, courses. That's where you'll find them. There are going to be more courses popping up there too, by the way, just so you know. So there's yet much more work to be done. But yeah, I think that video I was talking about polarization and polarity. Hey, Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm realizing now what's going on here. I had TallTree on the show by accident. Yeah, that's just an example of I actually did the entire series walking through the Penguin Sanctuary every morning after staring at the sun, and I did one video a day, sort of like thought for the day, and so it grew organically. I just one day decided to start doing it, and then thought, well, tomorrow, every morning I'd meditate on the sun, and I'd think, what's the feeling of today, and what's the next lesson, and so I would just progressively, and it accumulated in 108 lectures, and then I was done with that, and I was like, but that's just like skimming the surface. And so the next 108 lectures came about, and then I haven't finished the next season, which is 72 lectures. That's going deeper into the occult. Those are longer lectures. Those are 30-minute lectures, which were done also in the Penguin Sanctuary and on the mountain. I think I got to do about another 12 lectures. I need to get back to that and start filming that. So, yeah, you know, I think like when it comes to developing that potential to go into ourselves unconsciously and to investigate our emotional side, this is something that's been essentially taken away from us because we're not allowed to express our emotions, and society doesn't like too much emotional expression. You should be able to stand on a street corner and scream without getting locked away, right? Because do you know how healthy that would be? Imagine if people were allowed to stand on street corners and scream instead of going crazy in their jobs and ending up having a burnout or a nervous breakdown a year or 2 or 6 months down the line. If people were allowed to express themselves in a natural way, the world would be a better place. You should have screaming rooms, right? There should be like screaming rooms everywhere, soundproof rooms where you can go and pay like $1 or 50 cents or $1 or whatever, and go and stand in the room for 5 minutes and scream your head off, and then come out of the room and carry on with your day. You know, that would be like a really healthy addition, just because the expression of emotion is something that when it comes to negative emotions, we're not allowed to express them. And there's a lot of health to be gained. So the lunar energy is to do with that magnetic quality, the emotional quality. And when we start to imbue our rituals with feeling, that's when our rituals become super powered, right? You can go through the motions of a ritual, and you can do this occult, supernatural series of incantations, invocations, have a proverbial play that you're manifesting particular forces through, and it will have its purpose. But if you really want that ritual to get the power, the spiritual power that will turn it into something phenomenal, then you are truly looking for your passion. And your passion stems from your feeling. So you have emotion and you experience emotion, right? Probably a good idea would be to look at this in another context, I think. And the best context to imagine it with probably is, I would say, let me get you an image. I think this will be useful. Let me get a couple of images. Let's go with the correspondences. Images. So we'll start with the correspondences, and we'll take the enneagram, and that should be able to give us a healthy idea. And so when we understand the correspondences that are running between us and the physical world, and just exactly how all these things are tied together, then we will get a sort of understanding of the fundamental structure of our reality. And I think it's something that has been sort of taken away from us to a certain extent, because we haven't been able to experience and express what is called supernatural forces without being accused of being crazy or, being thought of as a weirdo. And so we've been basically schooled and trained not to. Let me just get the Saturn Square, because that is the last part of the image that I want to share. Saturn Square. Come on, where's that? There we go. Okay, so we got all the images loading. So we've been sort of schooled away from allowing ourselves to experience the subtle forces of nature. And because of this, we find ourselves getting a little bit trapped. So when we look at like a field of correspondences, I've done this here. This is an expression of the second field of hermetics, for example, the second principle, correspondences, and we're looking at how things correspond to each other. And so we're talking about the desire body, right? And the desire body is what we experience. A lot of people, they confuse their feelings with their desires with their emotions. True emotion is connected to memory in a very fundamental way, right? Feeling is connected to imagination in a very fundamental way. And desire is its own expression of feeling. But it's the expression of feeling that has been tempered by the will, if you look at these series of correspondences. So imagine your emotions being aware of a vibe. There's a vibe. The vibe is an emotion. It's a very subtle thing. You can sense it, but it's very abstract. When you walk into a room and there's a vibe in the room and you can pick up the vibe, you're picking up the emotions, you're vibing. When you're vibing, you're in the emotional plane. However, when you digest this vibe into your own personal system, you start to feel it. So after being exposed to a vibe and becoming aware of a vibe, you then personalize this, and it then becomes a feeling that you actually feel cognitively as well as physically in your heart. And the reason it relates to imagination is because it's a psychological thing, which is think of it as a template, as an image, but it's also compounded into the physical body. So you actually literally feel the emotions in your physical heart, right? As well as the imagined mental impression of what that is. So it's where the physical and the spiritual are starting to dance together, and it's where the spiritual is starting to manifest into an actual expression of form, where the principle of form is the vibe. That's the vibration. And then we are feeling this emotion, and then we apply our own personal will to this feeling. And as per our own will being applied to the feeling, it then becomes a passion, right? Because now we are willing with that emotion, that feeling. The emotion that we are feeling is becoming an instrument of will. And when the emotion that we're feeling becomes an instrument of will, that passion starts to channel through our energy body. And that's like related to your solar plexus, your self-expression, your Manipura chakra, if you will, right? And what we use our passion for and where we direct our passion through our will then manifest a crystallized field of desire in us, right? So let's say there's a vibe around a woman that you like as a man, yeah, hypothetically. And you start talking to her, and you touch her, and that touch, skin on skin, makes you start to feel. You're feeling the vibe between you and her in your body now. So now it's a feeling. It's an emotional, but it's also a feeling. Now you have the will. You want to manifest this feeling and this emotion between you into physical reality more, so you can saturate yourself in this experience. The passion starts to kick in, right? And the passion means that your consciousness then is driven towards So if this woman is then far away and you've got to like go and find her, or you've got to, you've got to do something to be with her, or do something, or you've got to work to make money to buy her things, or whatever it is you got to do, your passion will then align you with making that a reality. And this will crystallize as a desire to be close to her, a desire to touch her. And with that desire, it will lock you into a field of sensation. You will want to sense her around, and that, as a man, that will be sex, right? So you can see how this sexual thing in a man works. In women, it works in a very similar way. But now those currents are lunar currents in a man, right? That's drawing the woman, that's drawing you in, and it's your own lunar persona that is drawing your ego closer to that sense of union within yourself. And the woman becomes an externalized projection into the physical world of these inner psychological archetypal expressions of ourselves. And so we then attract the woman that can fit the mold of these unconscious forces that we wish to connect with into our sphere of physical reality, and through life and through our choices and our proclivities that will move us towards a woman that has adjacent choices and proclivities that fit in with our proclivities and choices, so that we can find a sense of synergy, and the synergy can move towards a deeper appreciation of a potential of harmony. And you see this divine feminine within the man calling. So whenever a man is embracing his divine feminine, he's becoming super empowered and supercharged and super manifestational. You hear all this nonsense about the law of one, right? I'm sorry to knock the law of one for people that appreciate it. I'm not saying it's all nonsense, but the way that it's expressed in the New Age culture is nonsensical, right? Like you see all these people talking about it, and they read the book, and now they're teaching you. And but essentially what we're looking at is the ability to manifest. And for a man, you have to be able to embrace your feelings. There's not enough time spent on this idea of how to manifest. For a man, is getting in tune with his feelings and his desires and his emotions and his passion, and aligning all of those so that they become a singular voice, in order to put that into his mental body, so that his thoughts are then tuned to those particular frequencies, and that will then express through proclivity and experience the particular actions required to manifest that. So, the manifestation starts in the plane of desire, right? Well, it doesn't start in the plane of desire. It starts in the plane of truly it starts in the mentalist plane. But the correspondences then means that we are looking for a corresponding something within ourselves in the physical world that will bring that sense of completion. And then that becomes something that's driving an emotion, and that emotion becomes a feeling, and that a feeling then becomes the passion of the will being released. And when the passion is active, there are ions passing, and the passing of ions thus empowers. So when it comes to rituals, the emotional key, the lunar key, is absolutely powerfully important, which is why you will notice that most of the rituals, pagan rituals, a lot of them in the old times were focused very heavily on the moon, right? Because the moon regulates the life and death principle. It regulates the way in which Saturn's time will be psychically re-envisioned, the perennial structure of the birth and death of these patterns of the seasons, of the cycles, of the time will be very much tuned into the lunar. And the lunar will be able to bring us that sense of emotional sensitivity and intuitive function necessary to channel those really deep astral potentials, the astral energies, into the etheric thought form structures that we are trying to launch into the physical world to produce manifestation. And so you can see when we're looking at like rituals, just using manifestation as a crude sort of yardstick to gain an insight, you know. Oh, that was sore, buddy. That was really, really sore. Hey, nah. Daddy didn't listen the first time. He said, giddy up. This little guy said, giddy up to me. Because I didn't giddy up him, he bit me on my toe. The little bugger. You are such a cheeky little... do you know why I call my bird shithead? I call him shithead. Hey, where's my little shithead? Because he bites my toe when he wants to come up. And so, yeah, you know, I do think, and I mean that in an endearing way, by the way, I do think that lunacy is something that we're all afraid of, and something we've all been taught to be afraid of, because we've lost our connection with the solar ray. And so really what ritual is the rite, is the unification between the solar and the lunar. And everybody smash likes, smash those little heart things on the side of the screen if you're like on the phone mode. Share the video, do all of that nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, but I'm supposed to remind people to do that, so that it gets out there, so that more people see the video, because it really does make a difference. YouTube algorithms and all of that. And Toby One Shinobi has come to join us. And Shinobi, brother, how are you doing? Welcome. Ooh, look at that t-shirt, hey? We've got to get a better look at that t-shirt. Let's check that t-shirt out, dude. Wow, that's a serious tee, man. Funky, man. Cool. The way. This is the way. I like it, man. How are you doing, brother? And for those that don't know, Toby Shinobi, he's a researcher, and he's very deeply embedded in language and the drilling of language and the dismembering of language in order to find those lunar connections, the magnetic connections within the language sphere. And he's got a podcast channel as well. Of course, check out his channel. It's down in the recommended channels, just at the bottom of the page on the front of my YouTube. Well, dear brother Toby, it's an honor to have you as always. And tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
Hey, what's up, Franklin? Yeah, I got this t-shirt off Vintage for like £2, just as a work top. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, really good. Really enjoyed your conversation with I can never remember, is it TallTree or Big Tree? TallTree, isn't it? With TallTree, Jeremy. Yeah, really enjoyed your conversation today. Just thought I'd just pop in briefly and say hello. And I've got a couple of notes here, because you were talking about the masculine and feminine, and like the way I view that is that in regards to emotions, that there's an ocean of motion like all around us, which we can tap into. And how I perceive this is that like we're light beings, we're made of light, and then we're in a vast sea of water. But in our body, it contains water, and the vast sea all around us contains light as well. So like light and water, masculine and feminine principles of like fire and water is contained within us and without us as well. And that in regards to water and like sailors being captains of our own ship and our own ship, that I think that with that, like a sailor sounds like say law, and we are the ones which speak our law, which is another word for story. By that, I mean we're the architects of our own story. And the story is the store of Ori, which is light. And the light is both all around us, carried by water, that's how I view it. But also inside us, we have much water. I think on a cellular level, it's like 99%. But this water and light are both synonymous. You can view it as like electric, magnetic, the sort of push and pull, but they both carry each other. So that my point I wanted to make was that that there's this, because I think you mentioned the Manipura chakra, and then we have manipulation, like being manipulate, and that's to do with time and not being in sync. And then if you're not in sync, you're more easily manipulated. Like if you're late, you know, you're not in your own time, you're not in Kairos time, you're not in flow time, you're in linear chronological time. And the chronological is a story, but somebody else is telling you the script. You're not reading your own story, you're not in flow, you're not in control of your own ship, you're just listening to somebody else. So where was I going with this? Sort of went off track. Talking of water, sometimes
Manipura.
What's that?
Manipura.
Yeah, so it's currency, manipulation and currency and will. Will sounds like wheel, and sometimes we can get caught up in the wheel, like the hamster wheel of life, sort of constantly looking outwards. Whereas what we need to remember is that we need to go to the center, because what I've discovered is that, like, the point of stuff, what's the point in anything? What's the point in learning this, learning that, doing this? I just want to be swept away in the tides of somebody else's story, the current narrative. Like, just, I think that's where lots of people are. It's just like, why does anything matter? Well, the thing is, with a circle, it always has a point. And then, speaking of like the phi or golden ratio, or the shell, the conch, that's consciousness, and the consciousness relates to this spiral, because the spiral always goes to the central point, and the point is us. We find the point. That is the point in life. That is the mean. The mean is the center, and the meaning, forget the ing, or just the mean, is the me in, which is you. Like, you're the central point of what's going on. So there's all kinds of things going on in the world. People can get caught off in this stream, and our currency, which is what we, it's our electric magnetic potential, which we're all born with, this seed inside us, which needs this magnetic electric of this water and fire, water and light of memory, which is contained inside us already. People will help us remember, and with some knowledge that can ignite the fire. But I keep losing my point. With the will and being manipulated, that for example, with Kairos time, it's the opportune moment, or like it's more kind of present time. Like when you're in a flow state, doing something you enjoy, time moves differently. Whereas if you're in Chronos time, time seems to move like in a linear. It's just past and future. You've done this, or you're going to that. You're not actually being present. And when you're present, you're less easily manipulated, because you're not thinking about the consequences that's ahead or behind you. You're just being present. And with this presence, we unwrap, we unravel it. Like, we have presence. We are all presence. That are waiting to be unraveled, because the unraveling is the center, is the point. The point is the unraveling. But what happens is that when we're swept off in the current stream of what's going on in the world, just why does anything matter? We can kind of close ourselves off, and our seed isn't able to emerge. So, I went off track a little bit there, but I hope some of that finds people well. You know, that's just me. That's what I do, is I visualize myself as on my ship, on my boat, rowing with oar, like this or that, just being in awe of new things that come to me as I'm just expanding with words and stuff like that. Sometimes I go off upstream, up a river. I'm going to try and orientate myself back. try and find back to the topic at hand. So thanks for reminding me that started off with the manipura and then how it relates to being manipulated. You know, but it's all good. Like I like the way my mind wanders. I view it as tapping into the tree from where all of our seeds are from, which is the tapestry, tapping into the world tree. And people say you've got to plant seeds for people. I prefer to say that the seed is already inside us. We are the seed. The seed contains all of the potential. Just needs a little bit of water, a little bit of memory, and a little bit of light, the Ori. So yeah, I hope some of that finds people well.
Yeah, totally, brother. Indeed. I think there's definitely a lot to be unpacked, you know, just going to the money pura meaning like the whole lot. Money polate, right? So pole, silent oud, I think, to the word, the life tree, that fundamental center of the universe, that central pole which we dance around, the maypole, the shamanic totem pole, the axis mundi pole. So you have your central pole, your middle pillar, as they call it in Western occultism. And when you are being pulled away from your center, right? When you are not spinning around your center, but you are spinning outwards you're spinning off your balance. You see, your central pole is meant to keep you balanced. And when you're spinning off balance, then you're sort of leaning and spinning. You could topple over, and then you'll be leaning into somebody else's money.
And we call bank account, we say, what's my balance as well, don't we? Oh, my
exactly.
Low.
Exactly. So there's a financial, exactly, brother. You know, there's a financial element to this. And the currency, you know, the money that's pulling you away from your center is somebody else's desire, right? And somebody else's will, which is the mani pura chakra. So that's like really well spotted, brother. Really well contextualized and put into a sense. And I think you're right, you know, that and another thing I'm going to point out as well is, what are you trying to do? You want to kiss your daddy? Okay, I'm sure daddy's little boy. I think another thing as well is that when we are allowing ourselves to be affected, so you've got your manipura chakra, which, okay, when we look at the physiology of the body for a moment, I'll try not to get too deep into this, but we've got to understand that the vagus nerve represents a nadi, a channel of energy that connects the Visuddhi chakra, the throat center, with the solar plexus center. So when we're looking at these, we're looking at the Visuddhi chakra, the sphere of vibration, connected with the sphere of rhythm. Rhythm, because your pancreas and your stomach controls the rhythms in your body, right? It's Saturnian. Like, what I ate today will affect my metabolism. What the number 8 today will affect my metabolism. Structure, right? That structuring element that will structure my body is what I ate. Saturn is that informational field of time that structures space. Let's give it a concept. So, you know, that rhythm principle, which is the principle of time, the lords of time, is the Manipura chakra. And the vibration, which is the element of Venus, right? So the sphere of harmony, the sphere of 6, right, will become that connection point between these two. And so you'll find that there's this interesting Taoist concept of the triple burner in Taoist medicine that really epitomizes this as an idea, and so sort of puts it into a conceptual slant, so that we're able to sort of recognize just exactly when we are being manipulated. So your triple burner is your sort of safeguard system, in a sense. So your fight or flight will be controlled by your triple burner. Yeah. And the triple burner will give you the impression of like running away from, or so anger and fear, the kidneys and the liver are quite fundamentally wired into the triple burner. And the triple burner connects that line of energy between the throat and the solar plexus. So hypothetically, how can you be manipulated? Well, you're afraid. You're afraid what? You're afraid of something, so you let someone else control you, right? Let's say a man is afraid he won't get to have sex, so he lets a woman manipulate him, right? There's a very crude way to understand how it could manifest. Or a woman is afraid of a man's temper, so she lets him manipulate her. You see? So a fear will often be, or anger, right? And anger comes with emotions like guilt, right? So someone has been angry with someone else and they've expressed anger, and that anger gets churned by the spleen and turned into guilty energy, and that guilt then will make them feel weak, right? Because they've expended the angry energy of their liver. And so that imbalance with the liver creates a dysfunction between the liver and the kidneys, right? And so the kidneys tries to compensate. And so they're afraid that they're not being real and they're not being fair. So they allow someone to manipulate them due to their own anger. So there are different gateways into the manipulation field, but it usually works through the triple burner, and it connects the throat to the solar plexus. Very interesting. And obviously the heart is part of the infrastructure, but the triple burner has two channels, the front channel and the back channel, the channel behind. And so these two channels operate, and they all affect like the muscles on the face, right? And the muscles on the hands, right? So like hand cramps and face cramps and face twitches and stuff, or different faces being pulled can often affect this energy. So this is why mudras are so powerful as a ritual, for example, because mudras channel particular currents through the face and the hands, affecting the nadis, affecting how the modulation between the solar plexus and the throat chakra are working through the triple burner. That's why mudras affect your health in such a powerful way, because there is this link with the nerves in the hands, through the arms, through the Visuddhi chakra, you see? So that's in itself quite an interesting thing to consider. Did you want to say something, dear brother?
Yeah, man. I just want to say with the axis Mundi, there's a few ways that you can split it. Is to the axis is like the central point of the cross, and that's the access. That's how we access, is by crossing over where two paths meet. And the Mondi can either be obviously the moon day, the light of the moon, which represents our emotions and the subconscious, and I guess the inner worlds. yeah, I can't really remember what else I was going to say. I had some other thoughts about the Axis Mundi, about the central point and our anchoring to that, to allow us so we're not manipulated. Yeah, it ties into the Axis Mundi, Axis Mundi, one day. Day is another name for God. And we have the daytime, which is related to the sun, the solar. And we have the Manipura chakra, the solar plexus, which is the soul or flexes. It's the movement of the soul, like the soul or, which the or can either be the movement or the center. The whole point in this explanation is the movement does get us to the center. Exercise isn't just about the body. We've got to exercise our psyche as well, which is a spirit. We've got to exercise our minds to get to our center. So the Axis Mundi, day is another name for God as well. So it's how we access source. The axis is the access to this. Can't remember what else I was going to say in regards to that. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. But if not, I'm sure it will come up in a future conversation, because we've spoken about the Axis Mundi before. It's something very close to my heart at the moment. And of course, we have Beltane coming up on the 1st of May, Scorpio full moon. Powerful energy for me personally, because my ascendant is 29 degrees Scorpio. So I'll be looking at working with that energy. And of course, you have the Maypole, which is the 5th month, which is the center of Saturn's cube. I think, like, with this Manipura, it's like we're manipulated if we allow our Mon-E, our one energy, our connection with source, our connection with our soul, to be extracted from us. And it can be extracted by emotions, via anger, and empathy. Those are what's been weaponized against us, over the last 6 years or so, is our empathy and our anger. They've both been weaponized. And this is why there's poles. The pole eye ticks, tick tock this way, that way. The Overton window goes so far one way and so far the other way that what's acceptable is there's horrendous stuff going on with AI, and people seem to just like accept it because it's or accept things because it's not worse, it's not as bad as what's happened previously or whatever. But I've lost my trail of thought. But it's just with wordplay. You said there was a few new people around listening today. I hope they're still around. Is that with me? I play with words. Words are the greatest. I found my greatest weapon or shield against being manipulated, because if you can understand what words are, you can cast your own fate, but not have your own fate cast by other people. So just by listening to conversations about the esoteric and occult, listening to people on podcasts and stuff, you can understand with their words, their meaning. You can get to the essence if you dissolve words and break them down and use a bit of alchemy, I guess, with language and words to dissolve and see what they really mean. Because with words and language, we were able to connect to the force, our thoughts more, because our thoughts are symbols and words. I have conversations with myself or source like all the time, but that's how I exercise my mind. That's how I get to the truth and understand what the essence of stuff is, because really we should be getting to the essence, because the essence isn't outside. The essence is the meaning, which is in the center of the circle. That's the Sophia, the center of the sphere, and understanding our wisdom contained within. So when we listen to things outside of us, people talking, they give us knowledge. You can't give wisdom. Wisdom is something which people can be wise and you can listen, but if you don't have the tools to understand the wisdom, then it's like casting pearls for swine, whatever that saying is. You really need to exercise your mind, because there'll be little things that people say that I've heard, that I've picked up on, like yourself, Franklin, and Gabe as well, Slick, with wordplay. That's been the biggest catalyst for me connecting to what I call source or God, the guardians of dimensions, and realizing there are many. Is wordplay and casting our own fate with the weird, the past, present, and future, dissolving boundaries, keeping some structure because it's necessary to channel, to move the water. But really, there's too many structures in place. It's more in this day and age. It's more important that people learn to dissolve, and then from that you can bring forth new, which isn't new, it's ancient intelligence inside all of us, because there's a lot of artificial people, artificial knowledge, which is just repeated, and it's the pattern, it's a cycle, it's the wheel. So to get off the wheel, you need to dissolve, and that's spiritual alchemy.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I think it's like interesting, getting back to, you said Axis Mundi. I want people to just recognize.
I'm just going to turn my camera off for a little bit, just because I'm working, but I'll be listening from here.
Cool, brother. Big love. The Axis Mundi. I hope nobody missed this. Monday. Right? The moon day, the moon, the Monday, the Axis Mundi. And I want to add something else to that. So we're talking about the moon. We're talking about lunar energy. That magnetic current that I was talking about. The Axis Mundi is that magnetic core around which all the particles spin in the universe. So at the core, it's magnetism. So the electromagnetic field at its core is magnetic. At its extremities, it's electrical. To recognize this is to recognize the structure of the etheric and the astral plane. And then also to add to that, can I not add this to the stage? Oh, I've got to remove that first. Okay. So to then add to this is so the Norse mythology and culture, right? The axe is a symbol of strength, power, the warrior spirit. It's the primary tool for survival and craftsmanship and warfare. It represents the ability to overcome obstacles, protection, and a deep connection to the natural world. They're also a symbol of status, represents leadership. So they are represented they are more related to tyr, right? As in the word tyranny, as in the word Tuesday. So the axe is related to Mars, right? Essentially. It's got to do with bravery, martial prowess, all the things that we can think about when we think about Mars. So there's an idea to the word Axis Mundi, right? And then again, there's the way of accessing Monday, right? Can you access Monday? Yeah, I can access Monday. I just wait through Sunday and access Monday. It comes before Tuesday. Why does Tuesday come after Monday? Because the axe, you access Monday by waiting from Sunday. And when you've gone through Monday, you end up in Tuesday, Tiwas, right? Tyr, the day of Tyr, the day of tears. Oh, I've got a lot of tears today. All these tears, I don't know what to do with them. Tears. So to understand how these words all conglomerate and sort of emerge and converge and conspire together in the corner of our minds is to also recognize something else. So we look at the enneagram for a minute. So So we're talking about the moon day. We're talking about that empathy, that energy, right? That fundamental state. And you'll see, so here you've got two enneagrams. You got a blue enneagram and a yellow enneagram. The green is technically not an enneagram. The green is a 9-pointed star, technically, because an enneagram can only be drawn if you put your pen on the paper and you draw 9 straight lines, all the same size, and you end exactly where you began. That's how you draw an enneagram. If you're not doing that, you're not drawing an enneagram. You're drawing a different kind of a 9-sided star. The same for a pentagram, same for an octagram, same for, any kind of a dodecagram, any kind of a gram that you can draw, which is basically that's what we're talking about. And it means that there's a living energy that can spin in it. I've got a little bunny on the loose here. Who's that? There you are. I was so worried about you earlier, my sweetheart. No, that is you. I pray that the other little girl bunny hasn't gone somewhere else. I don't know where she is. If she's gone into the garden, she might be food for a caracal cat. He's been prowling my garden a lot lately. Anyway, I'll try not to worry about my bunnies. So number 9 is connected through one of the paths with empathy. It's a very important connection here, right? Well, the number 2 is the lunar moon's potential, the moon's energy. And so we can see how the axis mundi, the Monday, is the empathic, the lunar principle of 9. That's that line there connecting it. And so 9 is what crosses the abyss. The center of the enneagram is, you could consider it as the abyss. You could consider it as that negative space that needs to be crossed, where the plow lives. And toe, the plow toe, the Pluto, which has no number, toes the circle round and round in circles, like the heavens, right? And so, but 9 has to cross the event horizon. And so the crossing of the event horizon means that the number 9, Mars, is that principle which goes in to create the new cycle. So Mars is really important when we look at the enneagram. Or it represents. Namaste, how you doing? Hope you're good. Maine, big love, big blessings. So yeah, you can see now why the axe is, related to the number 9, but we've got axis mundi. So how does the 9 access the empathy? That part which goes inward. When the 9 goes inward, it goes right through the loop of the center of the enneagram and emerges as a number 1. And it's the next octave. That's what an internalizing, and the principle here is the principle of death, the principle of the energy of Scorpio. And that relationship between the 9 and the 2 is really important when we're looking at this fundamental principle. In order to be able to get a perspective. Namaste, hello, dear Hannah Brummer. I hope you are well and thriving and arriving. And X7I Ax Labris. I'm not sure what that means, Tom. Maybe it's someone's name. But yeah, so when we're looking at these forces, it gives us an insight into like a word like axis mundi. We can break it down. We can put it into its concept. And this is like how you discover true gematria, true deep associations between words and power, and how, yeah, lovely. We're not going to be here that long, but there's quite a lot in the show that you might recap on afterwards. It will still be here. But welcome. Thank you for joining us. So this axis mundi then is an access to the lunar potential through the power of the sun. But the sun needs to be reborn when Mars, the axe, goes through the center. And so what does an axe do? An axe chops down a tree. I want you to think about the symbolism. An axe chops down a tree. the tree is the axis mundi, the tree of life. When the axe chops down the tree of life, the axis mundi, right, then one is aligned with a new tree, right? Because the new tree will then grow from the seeds of the old tree being destroyed. So this is the lunar power of life and death being brought into alignment. And this is why, from an occult perspective, we speak of the lunar potential relating to the cycles of living and not living, i.e., the cycles of spring, the cycles of winter, things coming into being, fresh new life, things going out with winter, fading from life. This whole principle of perennialism obviously relates to this, hence perennialism. Aries, the ram, right? The ram is, what is the ram? It's a sheep. It's a baby ram is called a lamb. The Lamb of God is reborn. Perennialism, Christmas tree. You see the association symbolically between the number 9 and perennialism. But the perennialism of number 9 is in an associative relationship with the empathy of the lunar potential. Hence, the lunar potential governs that. And sitting between the lunar potential of number 2 and number 9, you have number 1, which is the solar current, which brings the prana and the life force into the earth so that the tree can grow, right? So the growth of that tree is then regulated by the number 2, the lunar potential, but the energy for that growth comes from the sun. And so the sun feeds the sugars of the tree through the photosynthetic principles, and we have the next tree growing. And so the 9 crossing the event horizon is similar to the idea of an axe cutting down a tree. So now we can see the word axis mundi, right? As in getting access to the power of the moon, using the axe to hew down the tree, using the principles of ending life in order to generate new life, right? So that you can shift octaves from one enneagrammic structure to another, and hence was born the decimal. So when we understand how all of these sort of come together, that there's no slapdash, it's all a careful expression of synergetic and fairly profound symbolism that relate to each other in a field of correspondences, then that'll give us an insight into exactly how all of this works. And we see this, we see the Kabbalistic elements here on the left as well. So we can, because I've sort of brought together the Vedic and the Kabbalistic and put them together. And then in the center, I've put together like our real human attributes and how the real human attributes relate to the Kabbalistic etheric model, how they relate to the emotional chakra model of the Vedic school of thought. And so when we're talking about these principles, we're talking about the number 2, we're talking about potential, right? We're talking about the potential for life that can be given or taken, the lunar potential. And when we're talking about number 9, we're talking about the foundation. This is the foundation upon which life is based. The foundation of life is based upon that potential that can take and give life, which keeps the wheel turning. But 9 needs to dive through and it needs to emerge from unity once again, right? And when it emerges from Kether, unity, it becomes expressed as Chokmah. And Chokmah is wisdom. And beautiful that wisdom was being mentioned quite acutely and quite rightly by Shinobi just a little while ago, because wisdom is experience. Wisdom is something that we viz, right? Viz, dom to dominate, to domineer. The dom is the controller. That which can control your vision is wisdom. That which can shape the way that you look at the world and shape the way that you perceive and understand the world, that is wisdom. But that which is able to shape the understanding and shape perspective and shape the way we see and look at the world comes from our experience. So wisdom is an expression of our experience that gives us the ability to shape and change the way that we see ourselves and the world. And that gives us that what we call that wisdom, and we can then share that with other people, and they can then through that gain the ability to gain control of the perceptual model, and that perceptual model can only be gained control of through the experience of the previous cycles. So the enneagram thus becomes this series of cycles of octaves where we gain like mouthfuls of wisdom through experience, and each mouthful adds to the dynamic structure of our proverbial body of knowledge, and that wisdom needs to enter into understanding. The phallic nature of wisdom as experienced needs to enter into the cataic systemic sphere of understanding, which is the feminine. And when the understanding becomes impregnated by wisdom within the womb, which is understanding, the experience of wisdom can grow to become true knowledge. So knowledge then becomes the sexual union between wisdom and understanding. These are occult secrets that relate to Kabbalistic law, but they're universal. Whichever school of occult or metaphysics that one enters into, these will be dynamic principles to understand. And then we can see here on the Saturn Square the same ideas are being propagated here. We see the axis mundi between the numbers 4, 5, and 6 in the blue line on the right-hand side, and we can see the numbers of 7, 8, and 9 as the orange arrow pointing towards our left bottom corner, and we can see the powers of 1, 2, and 3 pointing upwards at our right corner, right? So we see the 1, 2, 3, and we see the 7, 8, 9. And we see that these represent centrifugic and centripetal potentials, right? Where the 7 and the 8 and the 9 are going to become taken in, right? This is an experiential, but the 1, the 2, and the 3 are going to be expressed. However, what's being expressed is the 2 at the pivot. The 2 at the pivot becomes the impressions that we receive from the unconscious. The 8 at the pivot becomes the expressions of dynamic force upon the physical that we can rationalize out. And that rationalization is what we can reflect of as the dynamic expression of knowledge, where knowledge and understanding find their completion in the number 4, for 4 dynamically expresses the potentials of 3, and 3 sits on the other side of 7 if you look at the number square. So 3 and 7 are balancing each other out. 3 is the expansive Jupiterian potential of mind to be able to expand into new potentials, new ideas, break through new bandwidths of mental perspective. 7 is that which we will take deep into ourselves as a journey to put personal context to the story of expansion. And 8 is what regulates the balance between the knowledge of the physical and the experience of the spiritual, where you see that triangle between the 7, the 8, and the 4. There's all these little codes within this numogram. We've got here this Vedic chart. This is a Vedic astrological chart with the 9 astrological principles being mapped out here, and the map of forces shown to us here. And so we see, if we look at the enneagram again for a moment, and I'll just be 1 minute. This will be done in a second. Looking at the 1, the 2, and the 3, the leader, the empath, and the optimist is one side of the polarity, right? And the mystic and the achiever and the activist are the other side of that polarizing relationship, right? And we can then see that there's this interesting relationship between 8 and 2 that is happening here. And we also see that the 4, the 5, and the 6 represents the principles of the axis mundi that connects the masculine and feminine principles. So we can see at the head, at the till of the dynamic feminine internalization of the unconscious, we've got that conscious outward recollection of information, which is Saturn, which is 8. So you can see how these two elements are expressed here with the Saturn square and the Saturn sigil, and how they relate to the enneagram. Okay, so that was a bit of a mouthful. Are you with us, dear brother? I saw your camera turn on and off a minute ago.
Yeah, my camera turns off when I'm in notes. For some reason, I was just writing some notes on my phone. When I'm reading my notes, does my camera turn off? Like, is it off now? Oh, there we go. Oh, well. Okay, well.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that with Saturn being the number 8, that's to do with like eating, like I ate, and there's a story of Kronos eating his children. Well, if Saturn is an 8 to do with eating, then the number 7's to do with digestion potentially, because to sever something is to cut something, like you cut your food. And I believe that's what the mystic does, is the mystic dissolves or dissects, and then the 8 eats it, and then you can act. So the 7 is the cutting, the severing instead of the 7, which kind of looks like an axe as well, the number 7, as does the number 9. But the 8 is the eating of the information, and then the digestion as well. And then the 9 would be taking action with the information that you've dissected, then digested. And I just wanted to point out with, so I want to point out the number 9 kind of looks like an axe as well. So it's interesting that it's related to Mars there. And that the 9, the enneagram, I've always thought sounds like the innergram, because it is to do with the inner worlds as well as the outer worlds too. And also, I can't remember what it was. You were talking a couple of minutes ago about wisdom. That was it. Wisdom. I've always thought wisdom is the wise dome, as in the wise. The wise is the ways of the wizard, I always say. That questioning why, always asking why, then that's the journey to becoming wise. And then the wise dome, why is there a dome? The firmament, what's that? Solid mind, is it? Or is that just knowledge we've been given, and is it just awaiting for us to dissolve it? And because that's what barriers, that's what rules are for. They're there to be broken and dissolved. If somebody can't tell you why they're there, like police can't tell you what the law is, because most of it's a bunch of nonsense. Say, oh, you got to do this. Why? Oh, because you do. Okay, well, why? And then the wise dome, the wisdom, is to do with the firmament, which firmament is solid mind. The mind isn't solid. The mind is far from it. Knowledge is solid. Knowledge can give structure, but then with the why, with the inner, with the, I guess, the 7, and then the 9 taking action with the axe, sort of chopping, dissecting, dissolving, however you want to look into it. I view it as the axe is the act, and that the axe could also be a sword as well, because the sword is our words. The energy is the S, is the frequency of our words. So the axe, the chopping, could be a sword, and the sword is to see, is the saw. I saw this, I saw that. And then you can cut down actors. So you can cut down actors with your sword or your axe, because having the axe enables you to dissect the acting of others, and the act of this. It's to do with law as well. We're given stories, and these are statues or acts. So you're acting, you're just partaking in another story. So I just find that very interesting. And also I'll point out with the lunar ticks, reminded me of the pole eye ticks, because in politics they're all lunatics because they're not initiated. Well, some of them maybe are, but they're running on a program. They're running on a script, and that script they're running on isn't from their core. They're programmed. They're running on a script. They're reading scripts, and that's how the pole eye ticks. It goes this way and that way, and we're observing it with our eyes. And this ties into the centralized power, which has been centralized outside of us, and also our essential power or I-central power, which is us, which is our currency, which is our DNA, which is our spiral, which is our wisdom, which is the conch shell, which is the consciousness, which is spinning. It moves in circles, not squares, not linear time, but a spiral. And then that's the inspire of the all. You can be in awe and inspired by all when you're in this spiral, because the thing is with learning and wisdom is you don't just say, oh, I've learned this, now move on, linear time, on a track, in line. It's about moving in circles and coming back to things that you thought you knew and finding the deeper truths. So yeah, just thought I'd share that. Been making some notes as you've been talking. And yeah, thanks for inviting me today, Franklin.
Always an honor, dear brother Toby. I hope you're going to have a good day of the work. I noticed we've hit 2.5 hours. I'm going to have to run, but we should do another live sometime. Obviously, tomorrow is the round table, but like we should do more whenever we got free time. Just crank it out.
Well, I'm around on Tuesday and Wednesday morning, so like 9 a.m. GMT. If people are here now, like either Tuesday or Wednesday, 9 a.m. GMT would work. And I think that, you know, it's always unscripted, but I think that all roads lead to the center. And what is the center? Like Rupus Negro, Black Rock, the Black Sun, you know, the spiral consciousness. So I think maybe something along those lines would be good. But I mean, we can talk about anything and just find the center of it, you know.
We spoke yesterday, day before yesterday, about talking about the Ein Sof and how the Ein Sof relates to the tree of life and how that relates to the Axis Mundi. So you're right, like we'll figure it out, but that was what we said. So they do sort of correlate.
I just want to point out that the Ion Sof is the I in self. It's the eyes into the self. That's what I think the enneagram is the inner gram. The enneagrams, the inner gram, and then the ion. Ion is you know, to do with energy and whatever. I mean, I'm looking forward to this conversation already, but I just want to break down the Ion Sof, and the Sof being related to Sophia, where all wisdom comes from, and the I in. So, because I don't really know much about the Ion Sof. All I do is when I hear stuff, I break it down, and then I hear someone talking about it, or I'll look it up and I'll be like, okay, that sort of aligns with how I've broken it down. And that's kind of a fast track to understanding things. But I've not really looked into what the Ion Sof is, other than it's in some way related to the Black Sun, which is like where all things come from. So yeah, really looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, man. You know, it's interesting. Like you mentioned the Ein Sof in that regard, and it sort of correlates to what I was saying earlier, where wisdom is your vis dom, being able to be in charge of your vis, right? What you see, your visibility, and so wisdom is you can change your state of mind at will because you've experienced all of this already. And you've got a handle on how it works. And so you can choose to be happy or not happy. Your choice, wisdom, how you want to see the world. And so what you're saying is your decode of I in Sof is interesting because firstly, the word I in means an eye, right? In Hebrew cosmology, it relates to the tarot card, the devil, which is being attached. Interesting. And I-in, also your I-in, is relating to the viz of wisdom. And sof is the root of suffering. I'm suffering. We're suffering when we lack the I in suffering. When we have the I in sof, we understand what suffering is, and we no longer suffer suffering because we have the wisdom to change our state of mind in such a way that we can experience reality in its completeness without just being stuck in one aspect, which is suffering. You suffer out of flame when your flame of your spirit is being compounded into a small space. We react with suffering, right? So the suff wants to be airing. There's not enough air in the fire. The suff wants to, airing a fire makes the fire grow, right? So suff airing is not enough air in your fire because your fire is being pushed into a small space. It's being denied oxygen. And the I in sof gives you the viz from wisdom to see how to shift your consciousness so that you no longer have a lack of air in your fire. So it's really interesting when we look at the alchemical, elemental nature of all of this. But thank you all for joining us, brother.
Just point out one thing, that the wisdom is, the path to wisdom is suffering in a way, and also the suffering is surfing too. Gonna ride the wave, you know, not get swept up, but stay on board of your vessel and try and find, like, I mean, you're a surfer, I've never been surfing, but like gonna try and, what's that tube called? It's like a vortex, gonna try and get through that. And I think you mentioned that there's not much air in there. There's not much air, it's a bit dense, you know, we're in dense, we are condensed now, but through this condensation, which I guess is alchemical evaporation, when you extract the essence of a plant or whatever, finding the essence you extract, that's condensation, I believe, that is wisdom. And, you know, I think it makes sense that the path to wisdom is suffering, because it's a long journey, it's deep, and it's like in the dark is where you find the light. You know, that's what Hecate is about, shining a light in the darkness. You know, but yeah, great conversation today. Thanks for inviting me, and much love to everyone, the Star and Tom Brewer, everyone else. Maybe hopefully see you tomorrow.
It's an honor as always, dear brother Shinobi. I hope to see you tomorrow. See you guys all tomorrow as well. Those that are still in the chat. People are falling off. I know it's busy. People have lives to live. We've been more than 2.5 hours. Sending you all big love, big blessings. And, you know, I like to leave us with the thought that Shinobi was just sharing, that suffering is the path to wisdom, and wisdom is the cessation of suffering. You see, they cancel each other out beautifully, don't they? When you get to the point of wisdom, you no longer have to suffer. But suffering is the experience that you need to get to wisdom, to end suffering. Isn't it a funny conundrum? Tom Rue, dear brother, big love, big blessings. Take it all in your stride. Keep your smile alive and drink the world in. Sending you all blessings. And I hope you have a good day today, dear brother Shinobi, as well, with your kids when you get home.
You too, man.
So I got to go and also look at my boy. I don't think he's doing his schoolwork. Daddy's got to come and crack a whip because mommy's just slack. Anyway, sending you all big love, big blessings, peace, honor, respect. And the Star, big love to you. Om Shanti. Take care. Don't forget to smile. Life is short.